This isn't a Blade Runner sequel. This isn't a slick dystopian fantasy projected onto a movie screen for your temporary amusement. This is China, right now, moving at a velocity that makes the digital world feel analog. This is the tangible, steel and silicon reality unfolding while the West is caught in a feedback loop of its own internal dramas. This is a nation accelerating faster than the coffee line at an airport Starbucks on a Monday morning, while U.S. news cycles and political discourse binge on palace intrigue, debating the nuances of yesterday's headlines and gearing up for the next manufactured outrage. A different kind of revolution is being forged in the furnaces of the East. In sprawling, immaculate factories that hum with a relentless energy, Chinese companies just fired up legions of humanoid robots that don't just perform tasks, they manage their own operational cycles, swapping out their own batteries with eerie precision. On the streets of their megacities, traffic lights are no longer passive directors of flow. They are nodes in a massive urban brain, a system that predicts your next turn before you've even signaled, optimizing the city's metabolism in real time. And on the asphalt, electric supercars are being born, machines that deliver the kind of brutal acceleration that bruises ribs and shames a Porsche 911, all for the sticker price of a well-used Honda Accord. If you feel a weird, unfamiliar flutter in your chest right now, a sudden cold rush of anxiety and awe, don't ignore it. That's the feeling of a paradigm shift. That's the moment you realize the future didn't just leave the gate. It lapped us while we were still arguing with the gatekeepers about who should have the keys. Picture this. It's midnight in a cavernous, brightly lit warehouse on the outskirts of Shenzhen. The air isn't filled with the chatter of a night shift crew or the smell of microwaved coffee. There are no pizza-fueled grad students pulling an all-nighter, no union breaks, no discussions about overtime. There is only the quiet, unnerving whir of synchronized electric motors. Here, rows upon rows of Walker S2 humanoid robots patrol the aisles with a fluid, purposeful grace. One of them, its power cell nearing depletion, calmly walks itself to a charging station. It doesn't wait for a technician. With its own dexterous, multi-jointed fingers, it opens a port on its torso, slides out the spent battery pack, and deftly inserts a fresh one. The entire process takes less than 3 minutes. Then it turns, walks over to a stack of crates, and proceeds to shoulder press a 15-kilogram box onto a high shelf. The movement as casual and effortless as a human stretching after a nap. You might think you're watching a pre-rendered CGI sequence from a sci-fi blockbuster, a VFX artist's dream of the future. But then you notice the small, unassuming window in the corner of the video stream. A live chat, scrolling with a cascade of emojis and comments in Mandarin from real-time observers. This isn't a concept video. It's a product demonstration. It's happening now. This is the reality of UBTech's Walker S2, a robot designed not for viral videos, but for the relentless, 24/7 grind of modern logistics and manufacturing. Meanwhile, another Chinese contender, Unitree, has its new G1 humanoid listed for sale on Alibaba, the global marketplace. The price? Under $10,000. This isn't a prototype reserved for a research lab. It's a commodity, priced to move, ready to be shipped to any factory, workshop, or even home that wants to experiment with the next generation of labor. Now, contrast that with the West. Tesla's Optimus, for all its visionary promise, remains largely a collection of tweets, carefully choreographed stage presentations, and a prayer for future breakthroughs. We see it slowly folding laundry or picking up an egg, feats that are technologically impressive, but still feel confined to the sterile environment of a laboratory. The conversation in the US is about potential, about the philosophical implications, about hitting AGI. The conversation in China is about deployment, about production lines, about market share. Scale is the weapon that wins this war. One single substantial order from a major manufacturer, and the Chinese factory ecosystem can tool up and stamp out 10,000 G1 units before the U.S. Congress can finish debating the catering order for its next subcommittee luncheon. The brutal truth is this: America daydreamed about humanoid robots, sketching them in our science fiction and our investor pitch decks for decades. China just went ahead and printed the invoice. In the sprawling metropolis of Shenzhen, a city that grew from a fishing village to a tech capital of 20 million people in just 4 decades, the cameras mounted on traffic poles are not just for issuing tickets. They are the eyes of a vast, artificially intelligent organism. They don't just react to traffic violations, they predict traffic flow. This is the real-world deployment of Alibaba's City Brain, a cloud-based AI platform that is arguably one of the most ambitious urban management projects on the planet. In the city of Hangzhou, where the system was first piloted, the City Brain chews through a fire hose of data from an estimated 350,000 traffic lights, millions of GPS data points from ride-hailing apps, and countless road sensors. Underpinning this performance is BYD's revolutionary Blade battery. It's a technological marvel that redefines battery safety and density. In demonstrations, engineers have punctured it with nails, crushed it, and even heated it in a furnace to over 300 degrees Celsius, all without the catastrophic fires and explosions that plague some conventional lithium-ion packs. This isn't just an incremental improvement, it's a leap in fundamental battery architecture. And the kicker? The production version of their high-performance sedan, the BYD Han, which incorporates this technology, stickers for a price that competes with a mid-tier Porsche, while offering performance that challenges its top-tier models. The result of this relentless innovation is a seismic shift in the world's most important auto market. Domestic Chinese brands now command an astonishing 63% of their own market, the biggest on the planet. The old narrative, the one where Made in China, was a punchline that spelled bargain bin quality and blatant imitation, has been flipped on its head. The term copycat has been forcefully replaced with pacesetter. Now, Made in China spells bruised rib acceleration and cutting-edge battery science. While legacy automakers like GM and Ford are still mired in Washington, lobbying for more public charging infrastructure and navigating complex union negotiations, Chinese showrooms in Shanghai and Beijing are stacking pre-orders for their latest models like steaming dumplings at a packed dim sum restaurant. They won't be able to integrate. They will have lost a market of 22 million people, not because their product was inferior, but because they showed up 2 years too late. Third, culture. The final tipping point is brand and the soft power that comes with it. Imagine the viral moment. A popular YouTube car reviewer pits an $80,000 Chinese electric coupe against a $300,000 Lamborghini. On a drag strip, the Chinese EV doesn't just win. It annihilates the legendary Italian supercar, pulling away with silent, shocking brutality. That video gets 50 million views in a week. Suddenly, the decades of brand snobbery and European prestige that justified the Lamborghini's price tag begin to feel hollow. That snobbery migrates faster than a TikTok trend. The scoreboard of the future doesn't track heritage. It tracks who scales the best technology for the best price. Once those export numbers for cars, robots, and gadgets truly begin to crest, a quiet cultural shift follows. Every kid in Jakarta or Lagos rocking a BYD hoodie or aspiring to own a Neo is a quiet, subtle vote for Beijing's technological and cultural orbit. Let's be clear-eyed. America still owns the crown jewel of the digital age. NVIDIA's H100 chip is an absolute beast, a masterpiece of semiconductor design that remains years ahead of any competitor. It is the fundamental building block of the AI revolution. But what is a crown jewel without a kingdom to rule? Chips, even miraculous ones, are ultimately pricey souvenirs if you don't have the fabs to build them at scale, the robots to install them, the cars to integrate them, and a massive, hungry market of buyers to use them. A blueprint for a skyscraper is a work of genius, but it's not a skyscraper. The race for the 21st century isn't over, not by a long shot. But we need to be honest with ourselves. The starting gun echoed a while ago, and we're still lacing up our shoes. The fundamental question we face is no longer academic. Do we continue to doom scroll through our own political theater, endlessly debating problems while others are relentlessly building solutions? Or do we decide as a nation to fund our own moonshot factories, to lay down our own smart asphalt, and to build our own battery megaplants before the competitive gap widens into a canyon so vast it can never be crossed? History is an unforgiving referee. It doesn't grant mulligans for missed opportunities or do-overs for failures of imagination. It simply hands out scorecards at the end of the game. So you tell me, are we standing on the verge of the greatest comeback story in modern history? Or are we the complacent empire that blinked at the critical moment? Drop your take in the comments. Smash that like button if you believe it's time to stop debating and start. I'll catch you in the next deep dive, where we'll unpack another piece of this global puzzle. And as always, remember one rule above all else. Stay curious, stay skeptical, and never, ever hit snooze on the future.